was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, a kiss on my wife. Just another day, the first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show with John and Sam. Hey, how are you doing, Sam?
We are doing.
We are doing. You know, that song always gives me chills because it's so appropriate for what we do in healing our heroes through a badge of honor, through our workshops. And it just captures the feeling of every first responder and veteran out there because we see things through his eyes. There's a moment in that song where he is looking through he's in the kitchen looking at his wife and kids. And it's almost like he's got that 1,000-yard stare. He's not even looking at his family anymore. He's just looking at his brothers and his sisters going into battle. And, you know, not only the song captures your heart, it's whoever videoed it really put a lot of time and effort into what most of us feel on a daily basis.
Yeah, I definitely get that scene very well. It happened to me for a long time, and yeah, it's that's powerful. And then of course, you know, the nightmares that he has waking him up. It's it has been, you know, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. For you and I, it'll always be like yesterday. Close our eyes and conjure up where we were, what we were doing, everything that we saw. We still got a lot of people suffering. And for those of you who have been asking, yes, I have been absent for a little while, not on Mad Radio, but on social media because my family got hit by the COVID thing. So Steve and I have both been sick for now over a week. I actually did the show last week after my getting diagnosed that morning. And while I am trending to the better, I'll just ask everybody to say some extra prayers for Steve because he's really struggling with this. And John, we had Kelly Victory on, Dr. Victory on a long time ago. And she said the words, COVID is very, very real. The facts are not. I want to let everybody know, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, I've got a breathing treatment because all I needed to tell my doctor was, hey, 9/11 first responder. And those treatments are working for me. And so despite all the craziness that still is permeating mainstream media, especially about ivermectin, it is absolutely absurd. This stuff is saving lives every single day. And I'm just so grateful that I have a great team of doctors that are all over this. So we'll get better. We'll get through it. And it's a resilient mindset. John, you've seen it. I'm still up posting pictures of the sunrise. It's what gets me out of bed because it helps keep me in a positive frame of mind. All the skills that I learned through managing post-traumatic stress have come into play right now to kind of keep things very calm, if you will, for me.
Yeah, and Sam, you kind of hit it on the head a little bit. Your mental mindset really plays a lot in the healing of your body and the healing of diseases. And COVID is it's such a diverse disease that it hits each person in a different way. I mean, you see the latter side of some people who are not really getting symptoms at all or minimal symptoms. And then you see people that are on respirators and are actually dying from it. So it's a weird complex disease, but to keep your mental mindset, to keep yourself and your body moving at all times, as hard as it is, I think that plays a big role in the healing process of your body because it helps fight things off. With anything, with any type of disease you have, you got to keep moving. You can't just lay on the couch and make things worse. My sister is just getting over it, and she has underlying problems. And I told her, I said, listen, get out, walk the dog, get some fresh air, get it, get your body moving, your blood circulating. And for my sister, it really it proved well for her that her moving around though she did feel real sick, but she put herself out there. So it's how you approach the disease is how it's going to battle you. Battle it. Don't let it battle you.
Amen. The words, those are the words that everybody needs to remember. Don't let it battle you. You battle it. And speaking of battles, and mental mindset and staying resilient and positive. Our guest tonight has an incredible background. He's a veteran, also a reserve police officer right now. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Matt and read his bio here. So Matt Zalewski is a case manager with the North Texas Regional Veterans Court. He's also a reserve police officer with the Seagraves Police Department. And prior to that, he was a full-time police officer from 2016 until he was involved in a critical incident where he was wounded in 2019. Matt also served in the U.S. Army from 2005 to 2014, where he spent most of his time as an infantryman, doing combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Matt volunteers his time by speaking and teaching about post-traumatic stress, mental health, and traumatic brain injuries. Matt, welcome to Matt Radio.
Welcome, Matt.
Good evening.
It's so great to have you. And, we corresponded before the show, and I know I asked a lot of permissions because your trauma was all over the press. You have a picture of what your patrol cruiser truck looked like after the incident. Do you mind taking people through what happened and how you were able to just mentally persevere through it?
Yeah, no problem. You want me to start from the beginning of the incident, or?
Well, let me ask something, Matt, real quick, and I don't want to cut you off because this brings Seagraves Police Department.
Yes, sir.
Right. And this brings a lot back to what me and Sam talk about on every show. It doesn't matter how big or how small the police departments are. You could have a department of 10 or a department of 10,000 or 40,000. The threat level is always the same.
Yep.
So, I mean, for those who are listening out of Texas, and for those who are listening, maybe in other places that don't know where Seagrave is, can you give us a little background of the department itself?
Yeah, so Seagraves Police Department at the time, we had 4 active police officers. We were slotted for about 8 police officers, and we worked a town that was approximately 2,500 people. It was halfway between Lubbock, Texas, and Odessa, so it was 72 miles either way. It was a small city, about 5 miles, 5 miles big. It was in a county that's 1,900 square miles. And in the whole county, at any given time, we had between 6 and 8 police officers for 1,900 square miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a response time when you need help.
Oh, yeah. You're looking at 18 to 40 minutes for backup. So.
Whoa.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So, a lot of – and here's another thing. When we talk about officers' mental mindset, New York City, when I worked in New York City, if I called what they call a 1013 officer needs assistance, I had a cop there probably within 30 seconds to a minute. So, if I was fighting for my life, if I was fighting, a felon, I knew within a minute or two, I got somebody got my back. Someone's coming up the stairs. Someone's coming through that door, right? Here in a town like Seagrave, man, 19 minutes is a long time. Oh, yeah. 40 minutes is a long time to be, fighting somebody.
And Matt will tell you what he did, because of that time, yeah. Right, Matt? You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So
I just want to set the stage, so go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, a lot of people they can't comprehend rural West Texas, and so we're flat dab in the middle out there. And unfortunately, because of the design of how it is out there, we have a lot of oil fields, so we get a lot of people who are on the run and stuff that think they can hide out there. And so we often get a lot of crime where I work. And so you want me to just dive right into that night?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I just got on shift. It was about 7:30 at night, and I ran criminal interdiction. And so I usually had a spot off US 385 where I parked at. I was coming down US 385 and I was turning into my spot, and I saw a blue pickup truck. The street that was running perpendicular to the road was called Bourbon Street. And I knew there was a wanted felon. He was a Mexican mafia guy. He had 5 felony warrants that was living on that street and driving a blue pickup truck. So I just took a gander. It was like, maybe I'll run his plates and see if it's the guy. So I spin around him. At that time, I noticed his windows were tinted completely, where you couldn't see inside. They had a silver reflection. And so I'd already established probable cause. So I run the plates. Comes back to La Mesa, Texas, which is one of our neighboring cities. And that's where the suspect's brother and family live. So I was kind of building my case right there that it possibly was the guy that I was looking for. Before I could do anything else, this truck spins its tire, takes off across the highway, and starts speeding. And so I was like, pretty good chance there's some criminal behavior going on. And so,
now, at this point, he saw you behind him, or your presence was known, right?
Yeah, and he knew I was going to probably pull him over. And so this dude just guns it across the highway. I have to wait for cross traffic. I follow suit. And at that time, I'm waiting for the radio to clear and to get everything set up. And we're what I call skedaddling. So we're not in a pursuit, but he's actively trying to get away from me. Next thing I know, he's blowing a few stop signs and, failing to use his turn signal, all these other things. And so I hit my lights and sirens. He pulls over immediately to the right side. And at that time, I call into dispatch and I'm like, hey, I had a guy running from me. We pulled over on whatever street it was. And at that time, the suspect rolls his window down. I see it's Daniel Ray Garcia, the guy that I was looking for. I can see his glasses, his mustache. So I conduct a felony stop. I say, get out of the vehicle, get out of the vehicle. He says no, puts it in drive, takes off. So we go again. I call into dispatch. I'm like, 711, we're in pursuit. We go down a couple streets. He turns over, pulls on the right side again. I conduct another felony stop. At this time, he's pretending like he can't hear me. I'm yelling for him to get out of the vehicle, get out of the vehicle. He says, no, I'm not getting out. Something along the lines of come up here. I say, no, get out of the vehicle. He takes off. I see the rocks kick up, get back in my patrol vehicle. We go again. At that time, we make a right turn, then we make a sudden left turn. And we're on Avenue H, I believe, at the time. And he pulls over on the left side. And so that was the first red flag because I've been in 30 pursuits by that time, and nobody's ever pulled over on the left side. And as soon as I call in 711, Seminole, we're pulling over. I hear 3 gunshots, and I look over. My left window had 3 bullet holes in it. So I start returning fire. We're in a firefight, and he's kind of maneuvering on me. So he's walking out of his vehicle, walking at me with his gun, laying down fire. And so I'm returning fire, and I kind of see him get, his arm drops down, and he kind of moves to the left. And so my slide had gone back. I didn't know how much ammo I had shot at that time, so I figured I'd neutralize the threat with my patrol vehicle and try and take him out. I put the vehicle in drive, and I kind of swerve at him to hit him, but I miss, and I hit his vehicle. And I see him go down, but he's still shooting at me. So at this time, I can feel like there was an explosion on my left side, and I couldn't figure out what it was. It felt like an IED or a rocket had gone off. And in the military, they train you when you're getting shot at like that to get out of the kill zone. And so what I did was I just kept pushing his truck out of the way. And I was like, I'm just going to get out of this area just so I could see what happened and try and assess the situation. About that time, I realized I'd been hit pretty good. And I didn't know where. Something in my body was like, hey, you've been hit. So I was like, I knew backup was 18 miles away. I heard it over the radio. My buddy Romeo at the time. He was like 120. I knew he was at least 18 minutes away. So I was like, this guy was, he'd just gone down the guy I shot at. My backup's 18 minutes away. I'm going to go to the EMS barn. That's what we call it. That's where the ambulances are at. And so in West Texas, we have the fire departments are volunteers. So the ambulance people are staffed 24 hours. And we usually have 2 paramedics on duty. So I figured it was faster for me to get to them than for them to get to me. And so I just drove over there. So I'm going down one of the streets, and I start to nod off. And I was like, man, I've been hit pretty good. And I'm calling in dispatch. I'm like, 711, get me a helicopter. Shots fired. I've been hit. And there's radio silence. I keep driving. And I'm like, 711, where you at? I'm like, well, screw it. I was like, 711, I tell my family I love them. I don't think I'm going to make it. I get to an intersection of another major highway, and I'm just going to gun it because I didn't think I was going to make it. I'm nodding out. I felt that I was losing blood. And so I make it, across the highway. I make another right turn, and we're headed towards the EMS barn. And as soon as I pull up to the EMS barn, there's no vehicles there. There's no trucks, nothing. And so I'm like, what the heck happened? EMS isn't here, So I called on my radio again. At that time, I was like, well, maybe my handheld radio that I carry on my body isn't working. Let me pull up my truck radio. So I get my truck radio, and I call it in. I'm like, 711 Seminole, where you at? And they're like, what happened? And I'm like, shots fired. I was like, I've been hit. And so then that starts the whole frenzy of radio traffic. And so at that time, I wanted to assess myself. So I get out of the vehicle, and as soon as I get out, I could hear blood pouring out of my left side really bad. So I don't ever remember being hit. I don't remember seeing the bullet holes, but I knew my arm had been shot. So I grabbed my tourniquet off my belt, and I put it up there, and I'm trying to tighten it. And so I'm trying to tighten it the best I could. And I had trained plenty of times how to do it, but the blood was coming out so bad that it was hard to tighten it. So I saw an SUV that was like 100 feet away at a park, and I was like, well, I'm going to get them to come help me. So I start waving. I'm like, hey, help. And the door opens, and it's a 13-year-old kid. And so I yell for the kid to come over and help me. And this kid's actually helping tighten the tourniquet for me. And he's putting his hands up because they're covered in blood. I'm like, hey, brother, just tighten it down. I need you to tighten it. So he's tightening it. His mom's hysterical. I think she's on the phone at this point with 911, calling it in. And so at that time, two guys came. They were at a softball game behind the EMS barn. They show up. They're like, what happened? I was like, I've been shot. I need another tourniquet. They get another tourniquet out of my vehicle. We put a second tourniquet. At that time, a volunteer firefighter, Ryan Martinez, shows up. He starts cutting off my uniform. And when we take off my vest, that's when we notice I've been shot in the back. And the blood starts squirting out there. So I could hear the radio traffic at the time. And, I kept asking, where's the helicopter? Where's the helicopter? And they're like, the helicopter's not coming. It's not coming. And it's 75 miles to the hospital. So that's about an hour drive. Us going as fast as we can. This is at 7 o'clock at night. And so I tell the guys in the ambulance, I'm like, well, look, we have a rule in the military. It's called the golden hour. You have 1 hour, to get critical care at a trauma center before you keel over and die. So I was like, we got about an hour to go. So let's get up there. And while we're in the ambulance, I tell them, call up to Terry County and see if we can get an escort. So they would escort us so we could get through traffic. And so we get our escort. We're going up to Terry County. And the next city up, Brownfield, which is about 30 miles away, they land the helicopter. I get into the helicopter, and they life flight me up to Lubbock to UMC. So the helicopter's landing, and there's the suspect getting wheeled in and out of his ambulance. And I'm like, what are the odds? I take the helicopter, and he beats me there. And so,
Wow.
So I get to the hospital. I go to the OR, and luckily, I've been shot 5 times to the body, 2 times to the bicep, 2 times to the forearm, once to the back. While we're in the operating room, they have my gear and everything. They tell me I'd been shot in the radio, which is why it wasn't working. So that hit my radio, hit my kidney, and then I had another shot that hit my vest right in the heart. And so we didn't realize that till I was in the OR, and one of the deputies was like, hey, you got shot in the chest. I was like, no, I didn't. We looked down, and my chest was completely swollen. And that's when we realized that they went and got the vest, and they found a slug still in the vest. And so, yeah, they pulled 2 bullets out of my arm here. I had 1 hanging out of my forearm. It was still sticking out of my arm, and it had clipped the nerves. So I had 3 nerves that were hit. But other than that, there was no really serious damage. I had some hemorrhage.
No internal, no lung damage, no nothing.
No, like I said, I had a hemorrhage out of the bicep. So the muscle had torn pretty good because it went right through the bicep, 2 of them. And but it was like no arteries were hit, no bones were hit. I had a neck injury. So I had a neck injury, a traumatic brain injury. I sprained my neck because when I slammed on the gas to hit his truck, I hit the steering wheel and I hit the back of my seat. So I had a canine unit, and there's metal behind our seat. And so when I went back, it kind of slammed into the metal. And so that sprained my neck. I had a brain injury. But, I'm lucky. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up, John. I'm gonna share the screen with everybody so people can see a picture of your vehicle here. Hang on with me 1 second.
Matt, while she's doing that. Oh, there we go. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look at it. This guy was definitely aiming to kill.
How many times was your vehicle struck?
I believe they said 18 times. There was 18 bullet holes in it.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
whatever he was firing had multiple rounds in it, right? Or did he reload?
I'm not sure. I honestly have no clue. So it's on Dashcam, and you can see him clearly shooting. But after that, when he falls to the ground, I don't know if he grabs another magazine, racks the slide and keeps going, or if he just had maybe an extended magazine.
Right.
I remember it was just a silver Smith & Wesson, it looked like, or, like a silver handgun. But that's all I remember.
Now, you say your injuries, knock on wood, your injuries were they're life-threatening, but you recovered from them. But, what we're here to talk about, too, is there are other injuries that you have suffered. The non-visible injuries, the ones that were not caused by the bullet wounds, but the mere fact of the bullet wounds. I'm sure you've watched the video, the Dashcam video. You've listened to the tapes. How do you work through those emotions?
Oh,
tough, right? Yeah. Sorry, sorry, I went there, but that's what your story is very impactful, and there are a lot of people out there that probably asking the same question. How are you on Mad Radio right now, and what gets you through each day? Because that's very inspirational to guys that are battling right now.
Let me start with this. So in June of this year, we had the trial finally, and the suspect decided to represent himself pro se. So he was his own attorney. During the trial, I knew he was going to antagonize me and mess with me because that's the type of person he was. And so during the trial, we watched my shooting about a few hundred times. He would slow it down, put it in slow motion. He would pause it as he's shooting me. He would rewind the parts that, some traumatic parts and make it play. And so, prior to that, I knew it was going to be difficult. And, and I had seen the video when I had to write my report and do my statement and stuff like that. And so I knew it was going to be difficult. But going in there with the mindset that, that you're stronger than this and you're stronger than the guy who did it, and just kind of hyping yourself up, just staying positive the best you can. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie and say, as a walk in the park, I can
no.
times, but it is difficult to watch. It's emotional. Listening to the 911 tapes and, watching your dispatchers cry in front of you and like the EMS people cry in front of you. That's difficult to watch, but at the same time, you realize you made it. I'm out here with my family enjoying time. The guy's going to prison, and that's how you just got to look at it. Just try and find the positive in everything and don't dwell on the negative. It's easy to get in your head and just sit there just dwelling on the bad things. And if you want, I'll give you another example. Afterwards, I didn't have the best of luck with workers' comp. And during that time, I wasn't offered mental health services for 8 months. And I had asked and asked and asked. And so I could feel myself going down a bad path. My anxiety was getting worse. I was having more and more nightmares. I would sweat for no reason. I would feel like people were caving in around me. And so I would seclude myself from going out, spending time with my family. And so that's when I realized, I really need to get help. And luckily for me, I was able to go use the Veteran Affairs, the VA for us. But I did have other opportunities and resources in the area, especially in the Dallas area where I'm living now, where they had people who could help me through that for first responders. And so I knew what I was going through, so I reached out. I think that's what a lot of people need to do. When you start realizing it, don't just push it down and pretend it's not there, because it's just going to get worse.
Matt, let me ask you, because when you tell the story and we always talk about we play at the level of our training when stuff goes bad. Mm-hmm. So you're putting on the tourniquets. Would you say that your experience in the Army definitely lent, major ability for you to stay calm and do the things that you did?
I think not only with the Army, but I was self-motivated as a police officer, where I would train or go get training that would teach me, first aid and things. And me and my buddies would go to the range. We were fellow cops, and we go shoot one-handed or put tourniquets on and stuff and practice that stuff, because statistically, you're probably going to get in a firefight around your vehicle, and your limbs are going to be the first thing, because if you're like this, somebody shoot you center mass, your arms are you're going to get a limb hit, and so I had known from the military and then from police training that that's the type of training that we needed to do, and so I practice often, and luckily I did, because it actually worked out, So
I agree with you, Sam. I think it's training, and we go back to this, and we've heard this many times. Without the proper training, without the proper, and once again, as PJ Brock keeps saying, his mindset. Mm-hmm. It's very easy in a gun battle to lose that mindset and give up. Just, oh my God, my backup's 20 minutes away, 40 minutes away. I'm in the middle of nowhere, but your perseverance just kept moving on. And that's got a lot to do with your training, your military background, and the guys and your self-training and keep practicing. I think had a lot to do with saving your life.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody out there, if you're a police officer, we always need to constantly refreshing. We have such a multifaceted job that we have to be experts in so many parts. But the chances of you getting injured in the line of duty is very high. 4 weeks after my incident, one of our deputies got stabbed on a traffic stop for a suspicious vehicle. While I was out there for my last hearing for this guy on a probation revocation case, my buddies at Lubbock County SWAT team were in a firefight with a barricaded suspect, and one of the guys I had known and worked with prior was shot and killed. And so, I've only been a cop 5 years this October, and I've lost numerous friends out in West Texas, and I've had plenty injured. And it's just kind of, surreal how often it does happen.
Yeah. So you're out doing a lot of speaking and educating about post-traumatic stress and mental health and the TBIs. With what you just said with your friends getting killed, and what are the audiences that you speak to, and really what's the main message?
Most of the people I speak to are police officers, whether that's rookies in training or in the academy, or seasoned officers, sometimes 25, 30-year veterans. Oftentimes we teach the Texas crisis intervention training 40-hour block for like the veterans PTSD portion. Mm-hmm. And so, we're training cops that have been there, done that. But the message that I like to get across is, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to get help, and, like I like to tell people, if you don't feel if you've been a cop for 5, 10, 15 years and you're going to work and you don't feel the same way that you did that first day you put the badge on, where you feel like a superhero and you have that feeling in your stomach where you're going to go save the day. If you don't feel like that 5, 10, 15 years later, and you don't have that smile when you talk about policing, maybe you should go talk to somebody, because there's obviously something weighing down where, you don't have that same feeling. And so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, how was it with your family? Did you let me back up a minute, because we have a lot of veterans that do serve in law enforcement, and some of them out of the blue, they go through their tours, they're quote unquote, call it fine. They're not experiencing what we would term as post-traumatic stress symptoms. They have an incident at work, and everything from their service starts coming back. Did you have any of it bleed into your service, bleed into your police work at all?
So it's hard to say. I did have issues when I came back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I think it's always been with me. I don't think it affected the way I did the job, but I think after a few critical incidents, you start to realize how it does affect you.
And was your family? How were they impacted?
They're impacted every day. I think the video at the beginning shows it perfect. Sometimes you get off a rough call and you come home and you're just wearing your feelings out on your shoulder, and you're taking that baggage home with you. So my family was affected. Whether you see something on the news that takes you back to the wars or the service, or you get off a hard call right before the end of shift, and then you come home and you got blood or urine on your boots, and you got to go shower, and then your kid's standing right there. It's difficult. So your family definitely does. They're affected by it. They might not say it, they might not show it. My wife never said anything until like 4 years afterwards, till the shooting happened, that I would carry the feelings home with me. But they definitely notice it.
Right.
I just want to reverse back a little bit, because you said something that really put a knot in my stomach. It's something that me and Sam are really fighting for. 8 months went by. Well, first off, the workman's comp thing. You just you're chasing down a felony suspect. You were shot 5 times, and now you got to battle workman's compensation to pay your bills. And I don't want to get political, but everybody that's listening, here's an officer who is trying to protect his community, gets shot 5 times, but in New York we're giving $1,200 to criminals. Now Newsom in California is giving $500 to felony suspects, and you, Matt, are fighting to pay your house bills after serving and protecting your community. That's a whole nother show in itself. Then when we talk about 8 months before you were able to get help, and then you had to go to the VA for help, I'm beside myself going, we have a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem in certain departments that why weren't you taken care of from right after you got out of the hospital, during the hospital stay, a slow integration of therapy, and then a constant flood of therapy afterwards. I just don't get it.
I don't know where
With all we know.
was. When I got to workman's comp, they told me that the area that we were in, because it was rural West Texas, they didn't have many providers who would do first responder trauma. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's understandable, but at the same time, maybe there should be. But then I had moved to Dallas a couple weeks afterwards because I had already planned to come to Dallas for work. And so we moved out here, and then I moved to Dallas, and I was like, okay, it should be easier to find, mental health because, in the Metroplex, officers are involved in shootings often. And they told me, no, there's only one provider in all of Dallas who does workman's comp. And so, and it was about 40 miles from my house, deep in the heart of Oak Cliff. So anybody in the Dallas area knows about that. So you're going to the hood to get mental health.
Trauma just driving there.
Yeah. So it was a trip, but I mean, luckily I had a provider 8 months later who was excellent. They really helped me out. But workman's comp was the biggest issue I had. It was just they made excuses for everything. And like you said, it's a whole nother show. But the fact that it took 8 months to get mental health help, that's insane.
Now, as your commander, and I don't want, please, I'm not bashing anybody in the police department at all, but we've talked about this, how we have a lot of old school commanders, and like you said, if you're not smiling wearing that badge anymore, maybe it's time to take that back seat and go do something else if you're not going to take care of your guys. But as a commander, as a chief, as a captain, somebody should have been there supporting you and walking you through this, and with everything we know, this is not something that happened in 1998 when we didn't know about post-traumatic. This is something that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When we are inundated by peer support, mental health, emotional trauma, and nobody did this. Nobody grabbed you, and that hurts me. That hurts me. Likewise,
I mean, everything in hindsight is 2020. I don't think my chief was an excellent chief. I don't think he had all the tools necessary. You go all these classes that were mandated to take are useless. You take all these useless classes, especially that TCOL mandates, and it's ridiculous. What we should be taking is like critical incident classes, like what you do when an officer is involved, and how to get peer support, help, and how to get treatment and things like that. That's what we should be doing.
Listen, all the tools are right here.
Yeah.
Google it. If you don't know it, go learn it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got to be willing to, as you know, Matt, you got to be willing to sometimes be your own advocate.
And that's what I had ended up doing. I reached out to an organization who helped wounded police officers, and they actually had a peer service group with them. I don't know if you guys know what it's called, the Wounded Blue with Randy Sutton, his group actually.
Yeah. We know him well. Randy's been on the show a couple of times. Yeah.
Right. So his group is the one I reached out to, and they got squared away, with the process and stuff. But every agency should have that. Out here where I'm at now in Dallas, we work on building these peer groups for different agencies, and I think in the rural towns that's something that they should focus on because your chances of getting in a critical incident is extremely high since there's only 4 officers. Yep.
Well, Randy shares almost somewhat your same story because if I remember correctly, Randy had a heart attack or a stroke on the job, and on the job, and they refused to pay him. So he went through that same thing, and that I don't understand how our departments, and he was in Las Vegas back then when it happened.
Yeah.
I don't understand how departments are not taking care of our officers financially if something happens on the job. Stroke, you have the heart bill, you should have, because a lot of these things, a lot of the medical issues and the assaults and the injuries and the shootings are all job related. We should be taking care of our officers. We should be taking care of our law enforcement. And I don't, thank God for these private organizations like the Wounded Blue, the Peace Officers Angels Foundation here in Texas.
They were one.
We have so many wonderful organizations that step up and and help and do what they can. But they're not government funded. They are all privately funded on fundraisers and volunteers. So money is not as good as it should be, especially for the post-traumatic stress and the injuries that so many officers are suffering each day.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me ask you this, I just for want to transition, because you continue to serve as a case manager with the North Texas Regional Veterans Court. What made you make that transition?
So the first year after my shooting, I had real bad nerve damage. I couldn't close my hand all the way. My fingers still don't work correctly. I realized at that point, law enforcement full-time probably wouldn't be the wisest thing, and I'm a realist. So I knew barely having 5 years of service, it's not like I'm going to get a desk job in the Metroplex, when I'm fighting against all these guys who have 15, 20 years. So I realized real fast that I'm probably going to have to make a career change, and so the doctors kept telling me that my nerves, they wouldn't know when it would heal. They said 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They said because it takes about a month for 1 inch to heal. And so from my neck all the way down to my arm, it's about 2, 3 years of healing right there. So my buddy, he's a deputy now out here in Collin County, and he had told me about this job, and it was to help veterans, and it was doing social work and case management, and it was kind of in the criminal justice world. So I was like, that would be a perfect shoe-in. I've worked as a cop. I'm a veteran, and I wouldn't mind doing social work. And so I sent my resume, a cover letter, and I think a day later I had an interview, and then I was hired on the spot. And I've just been blessed to work in this job. So
wow.
Awesome. So what exactly do you do?
So we have 5 courts in our region. We run 5 different counties for their veterans courts, and we deal with justice-involved veterans who get arrested for things like DWI, unlawful carry of a weapon, drug charges, possession charges, assault, family violence, some assault offenses, and things like that. No murders, no manslaughters, no sexual cases or anything like that. And so many times when veterans come back, they don't know how to deal with their problems, like when I came back from my first deployment, I would say a good 20 people out of my unit had gotten arrested in the first month. My second deployment, we probably had a good 15 guys arrested. We had a guy who, out of my last deployment, did a drive-by shooting right outside base, and he was arrested for that. And so oftentimes when veterans come back from war and they leave the service, they get lost in, you have all that structure, you have all that discipline, the camaraderie, and your op tempo is so high, going 100 miles an hour, and then you go to being told you don't have to do anything. It's hard for them to make that transition and switch, and a lot of people have poor coping methods, so they rely on alcohol and drugs to deal with it. And so my job is to intake these veterans, interview them, and if we admit them into our program, help them transition, to being the civilian that they need to be. Help get them the PTSD help, the service-connected disability help, the drug treatments that they may need, help get them all the different resources that are out there for them so we can get them back on track. And surprisingly, a lot of these guys are also first responders who just got lost on the way. Maybe they were coming back from the bar, got a DWI. And so we try and help them get back so they can get back into this, being a police officer or a corrections officer or a firefighter and things of that nature. And so
that's another, you just hit on another show, transitioning out of the military. Our military, and I hate to say it, I'm not a military veteran, but I see so much of it. They do a piss poor job on transitioning our veterans who have served to come back out into society. And it's just like we don't transition our law enforcement after retirement. And I wrote an article, When the Music Ends, and it touches on those very same things. We're not looking at the afterburners. We're not looking at how that mission continues. So, we have a lot of work to do, and I'm glad you are here with us today to help pave this road to mental health awareness and to help our veterans. So I can't thank you enough, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Ditto what John just said. And I want to ask, since you served in Afghanistan, have you received calls from, buddies that you've served with, or have you seen an uptick in, folks that need help?
Yeah. Surprisingly, it's been bad. So in June is when Kandahar fell, and so I was in Kandahar in an area called Panjwai, and that's the birthplace of the Taliban. That was one of the first places to fall. And so in June, we started all feeling the feels of, man, maybe our time over there was wasted, and it's hard because like I felt it myself, and I didn't want to. These are feelings I never felt before. And you're frustrated, you're angry, and you're like, why? Like we knew this was going to happen, but why? And then I started getting calls from my buddies, and I would see their Facebook posts. And my buddy's going to kill me, but if he watches this, but he called me from the bar, and he was just tore up drunk, and he's just crying about it, and he was just really he was just beat to the ground, just watching the fall of Afghanistan and watching the stuff in Kabul and stuff, and like, what do I tell a guy like that? Like I'm dealing with the same stuff, and it's hard. Just, he's like, I wasted my time over there. My mental health is in shambles because of this. And, it's hard to deal with. So I've definitely seen an uptick of it. And actually Afghanistan's been a lot harder than what had happened in Iraq. I don't know why, but it seems like the Afghanistan veterans are having a lot harder time. And I see it in our veterans court. We have a lot of Afghan veterans. We have a lot of guys who served with the Marines over there. Especially the ones who are wounded, and so they reach out. You see it on social media. I also run a page called Panjwai Valley Gun Club, and it's for Panjwai veterans in the area surrounding. And as soon as this started happening in June and July, our messages started going up and our responses, and people started reaching out just saying, like, hey, I'm having a hard time, I'm really struggling. And so definitely saw an uptick on it, on people's mental health kind of deteriorating or them having issues because of it.
Yeah.
Now, has the VA, because I know they are a limited resource, you knew, you kind of foreseen this. If you saw this in June, right? If you saw this in June, do you think the VA ramped up their mental health programs a little bit and said, hey, let's prepare for something? Maybe we're going to get a wave of something just in case. Do you see?
I think that's an oxymoron to put government and prepare in the same.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think so. From what I understand, there's actually a backlog now for mental health at our VAs here. That's what we're being told. So,
see, and that's the worst thing to ever tell a veteran that says, "Look, I need help." And someone go, well, come back in 3 weeks or 6 months, or we'll call you when we have a spot open.
Yeah, it's that's part of Matt, I know a little bit about what John and I do with a badge of honor, is that the resources and the folks that you reach out for help. First of all, your outside agency, so whether it's outside the VA or outside of the department, we're going to get you hooked up into a program if you need it, but you're going to be able to talk to the staff that run these programs. And so, for the veterans, there is help out there. And I'm just going to go throw this up here right now so people can see. If you go to this website, you can see all of the resources. And John, we have those resources that serve veterans and first responders. So they are,
and their families,
and the families, because the family is always included. So nobody needs to suffer. We don't want you to suffer. Matt doesn't want you to suffer. And, there's an officer right now saying that's where the alternative resources come to play when the VA drags its feet. Yep. We know what the situation will always be with the VA, and you don't have to suffer. Yeah. There is help. And Matt, I mean, for you to get out there into the recruit classes and talk to veterans that now serve in law enforcement, I got to tell you, I know that it's making a difference. And for people to hear your story, and how, despite your injuries, despite the workman's comp, having the support of your family, the support of your friends, and the attitude that, okay, here's the situation that I'm in. I'm not going to let this defeat me. I'm going to defeat it. It's just, you're just a testament to the ultimate in resilience, like resilience. And there's your picture.
I appreciate it. It's hard work, you know. Some people say I make recovery look easy, but I mean, I have my bad days, you know, and I just want people out there to know, you know, there's after dark nights, there's always going to be that sunrise, you know, like it's not always going to be dark. So you just got to work for it, you know, just like anything else in life. If you want to be happy, just work for it. So.
Absolutely. It is, you said it perfectly, because people do look at people like us, you know, and if you're in the suffering and they see and hear your story and talk to me or John, and it's like, oh, well, you're just so far along. And I was like, do you understand that this all started with a gun to my head? Yeah, long, but you're seeing it way down here. So yeah, there's always a light shining. You gotta find it and stay in it.
You can't give up. You
Not
can't
at
give
all.
up.
No.
You can't give up. And like Matt, you said you have your bad days, and those are allowed. Those are deserved.
Oh, yeah.
You're allowed to have bad days. You just got to make those bad days not as. You need the good days better than the bad days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but you can't take those bad days as step backs. They're step forwards, because they're all part of the healing process. Our bad days move us forward to the good days. So, you know, and people get frustrated, and it's when they're not told the right thing. They're like, oh, screw it, I'm having a bad day. You know, the world's coming down on me. Wait, breathe through it. Let's walk and get to tomorrow. Get to the next step in life. Take it 1 minute at a time.
Absolutely. So, Matt, this show has flown by. And so I want to, first of all, thank you again for being with us. If people want to reach out, how do they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me with my email. So it's Zalewski, my last name, ZALEWSKI .Matthew, MATTHEW @gmail.com. So Zalewski.Matthew@gmail.com. And I'll answer any emails. You know, if somebody needs it, you know, resources immediately, they're more than happy to reach out to me and let me know. And you know, I'll do anything to help anybody out there. So.
Well, thank you for that. And just in the next minute, the minute is yours. You could say anything to our men and women and law enforcement, our first responders, and our veterans and active duty. What would it be?
Well, first, I'd say thank you for your service, because it's I know it's cliche, but it's a difficult job. You know, it's a very difficult job. Doesn't matter if you're a line infantryman or a cook in the military, or if you're a cop, you know, in a huge agency or a small agency. We all have a job to do, and oftentimes it's more difficult than, you know, what we expect when we get in there. With that said, you know, I really want to get on the mental health thing and just let people know that it's okay, you know, to go out there and get help, and you know, stay out of your head the best you can. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Don't isolate yourself. Set goals. Sitting around contemplating, you know, why you're having a bad day is the worst thing you can do. Go out there and make it a good day. You know, if you're having a bad day, go fishing, go find a hobby, ride a bike, go for a walk, and just, you know, find ways to make you happy. You know, nobody's going to hand walk you to your happiness. You know, you got to find it yourself. And so, and make mental health a priority. First responders, I mean, it's like a no-no word to talk about mental health and stuff. And I think that needs to go away, and people need to talk about it. You know, if somebody's having a bad day, if you see your buddy who's spiraling downhill and they're drinking, and you know they're out of control, and they might be cracking a beer as soon as they get off work, and that's how they cope. You know, talk to them and see about finding different coping methods out there. You know,
no one's going to hand walk you to your happiness.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, and you change. I just looked. Mandy Kay I needed this tonight. God bless you. So you're already changing the mindset of people. So thank you, Mandy, for putting that. If you change the mindset of one person, and this whole show is well worth it.
Exactly.
And that's what I can't say enough to you for coming on this show and helping share the show with other first responders and veterans, because like Mandy, she needed this tonight. How many more need it? Just this conversation, just this open conversation. And I really wish we had phone lines where we could talk, take callers and listen to them.
Yeah.
But if your voice is changing just on Mad Radio right now, I can't imagine they're hearing you all over the academies. They're hearing you at the Veterans
Court
Association, and they're hearing everything you say. So Matt, thank you for voicing and sharing everything that you've been through, because it means a lot, and you're helping people.
Thank you for this opportunity, guys.
You bet. Thank you, Matt. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, what an incredible show. The heroism and the recovery. Hey guys, I'm going to put this up again. If you are in need, please do not wait. Please reach out for help at badgeofhonor.com. I also posted Matt's personal email that he was so generous to give out. Reach out for help. It's there. So grab onto it. We'll get you what you need. We want to thank you guys for tuning in each week and doing this journey with us. And if we got some milestones that we're trying to hit, especially with the YouTube. If you are part of our Facebook family, thank you so much. Jump on over to our YouTube channel, which is at Mad Radio Texas, and subscribe over there. And 200 is the magic number. We're creeping up slowly, but we'll get there. So we'll have our own channel there. And if you're part of our YouTube family, awesome. Jump on over to Facebook. You can find us at Making a Difference Texas. And make sure you follow us there so you get notified each week of the show. To all of our first responders, to all of our law enforcement, to everybody that is serving here at home, holding the line, keeping us safe every day. We thank you. We love you. We are praying for you. To all the veterans, especially those that served in Afghanistan, we're holding you here. Your families, we are with you. We support you. Again, reach out for help if you need it. And for all of our soldiers still fighting the good fight overseas, God bless you. And thank you for what you do so that we get to do this every week. John, take us home.
Well, with the current state in Afghanistan and with the 9/11 20th anniversary coming up, we have 13 new Gold Star families. I want everybody to please keep everybody in their prayers. Say thank you, and please never forget. Remind people if they have forgotten, because it's okay. Let's just remind them. And I would be amiss to say, if my wife doesn't tell me this all the time, if you could do anything in this world, just be kind. If you could do one thing, just be kind. And I probably screwed that up, but if you can do one thing, just be kind. And let's make every day September 12th. Sam, I hope you feel better. Blessings to you and Steve. Thank you for powering through the show. It was very powerful, very informative, and I think we made a difference.
We definitely did. And for everybody that wants to join us, my status is still up in the air, but this Saturday we are reading 9/11 Memorial reading of the names at we're mustering 7 a.m. in Rockwall at the public boat ramp. So come on out and remember with us. Yes. Until next week, guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. Take care.
Good night, Sam.
Good night.